Hey guys, Stealth here, welcome back to more Wargame Red Dragon. Today, Paddy Field. I haven't really featured this map too much in my ranked replays. I'm playing as Lieutenant Electo. I'm facing Second Lieutenant Big John. I'm playing the Baltic Motorized. You can find this linked down in the description. The plan for me is to head to Anna. You might recognize this as Alpha if you're playing the NATO side. I want to capture the buildings here. I want to encourage my infantry to capture the forest over there and make sure that I can eventually park a CV in there. This is, for a motorized deck, I feel the best option. I also have a couple of Scott 2s with infantry going there to block off any incursion from Boris. We have two guys going over here as I'm playing very defensive in Fedor. And I'm going to have a couple of guys going all the way over there. Immediately we spot some Saxons. So at least we know the Brits are here. Is there anything else? Yes, there's a Challenger 2. This is going to be interesting, because if there's a Challenger 2, then you know that they have invested a lot. That's 170 points, and these big tanks are sort of self-licking lollipop. They become bigger. It's not just one tank. It's never just one tank, unless you're facing a private, usually. But it's also an escort. A tank needs infantry, a tank needs anti-air, a tank needs reconnaissance, so I'm pretty safe to say that the majority of his force is going to be over there. That's good news for my motorized push into Anna, because it's not likely to face a whole lot of resistance. Now what you can see me do here is split some of the infantry off. I have the XA-180s with the Reineko Jekeri, so the elite special forces going over to the right and coming up the ramp there. But the rest of it, it's a bit messy. I don't need to be doing this as I am, because the KTs, for example, need to be dropping off infantry already, as there could already be infantry inside this town. So this is messy. The Green Jackets and the Fusiliers are immediately getting eliminated as quickly as possible by the KTs, the Jekeri, Raskasin Korima, Mustis, everything here is starting to die. But I have some issues. The Challenger 2, Challenger Marksman, and SAS and various escorting infantry have decided that this might be a good time to push. So what I do is send in a seed aircraft. The plan here being, eliminate the Challenger Marksman, and it's not going to be easy because these things have 15 frontal armor. This thing can do 24 AP with one missile, so I'm going to have to hit them twice per Challenger. And once that is gone, I know that there's still SAS with anti-air, but I have at least a bit of an easier time dealing with the Challenger. I generally try to find and eliminate the anti-air first. So here comes the Su-22, and it deals with absolutely nothing, because it fluffs one of the missiles, and I'm ordering the evacuation of it, otherwise I might lose it. Over here, I'm showing you how not to use HEGMs, as the spike missiles are being wasted on Saxons. You can see that he's already sniffing out my anti-tank positions here, quite successfully so, and I waste 3 missiles on the Saxons, as I am busy micromanaging stuff over here. There's really not that much there. Spartan, Green Jacket, Reineko are coming up through the woods. I got Spada Kroniatsi over there to defend that flank. And essentially I take control over this, but you can still see that I'm distracted. I have Eriko over here, which is not bad, but I have my HEGMs out in the open. I have the KTs out in the open. The Mi-17 is sort of hovering around, looking for targets, but it's not really what I should be doing. I have a Salamandra, which can be useful in dealing with the Challenger 2. It has pretty decent missiles in the form of the Kokon M, but 2 Challenger Marksmen. They first need to be eliminated. At this point I've wisened up and have the spike missiles set to target more valuable units, but they miss. And the Eriko die, so their spotters are gone. I send in the MiG-21 MF with the rocket pods to deal with the SAS, as I can find them. So that's hopefully one squad of SAS down, and I know the MiG is going to take a lot of damage, but it should survive a couple of Challengers. One more Challenger Marksman takes a hit from the spikes, but that's the last spike. So now I have a problem, because I have 2 Challenger Marksmen, but they're, well, none of them are dead. They're both low health, and there's a Challenger 2 there somewhere. Over here, I'm sort of trying to be as annoying as possible with one Mi-17, trying to keep enemies at bay, while I buy myself some time. My Su-22 comes in. This is the Seria 30, trying to deal with the Challenger, but it gets shot down by the Tornado F3. I don't get a lot of those planes. I only have 2, so I have almost no options. The MiG-17 was able to deal with one of the SES squads, but we're not done. The Challenger Marksman at this point takes out my Salamander because I mismanage it and get it too close. At this point, he is at a +2 because he has control over Deaton. He has control over essentially the rest of the map with his units. So what I try and do is go after his NTR again. Here comes another seed aircraft. Missiles arcing in and both missing, but the second strike works. And that's one of the Challenger Marksmans out of commission. I'm not sure if the other guy is alive or not. The Tornado F3 immediately comes back out, trying to intercept the seed aircraft, but does not get it, as it's already being evacuated. So what I have over here is ACV, a FOB, and a Salamander. I spot the SAS, and I go, nope, that's not something I want to engage. Because this is an 80-point helicopter. I don't want a 30-point infantry unit to engage that, but I can have some shots at them with the mortar. In the meanwhile, the Tornado F3 comes to hunt down my guy over here, my MS-17, and I make the mistake of trying to push with the with the 185 KTs, and of course they get eliminated by the infantry that is in Anna. And you can see that I have the vehicles, I have the Aeroco, the Spike died because I wasn't protecting it, so I have some anti-tank in the form of the Renico, but beyond that I have almost nothing. I thought, oh great, this is going wonderfully well. How am I going to approach this? So I try to do what motorized decks do, and they come at you from every which way. Which means I have two XA-180s rushing the other side, having dropped off Renico, Aeroco, and a Spike, to try and harass as much of Dimitri as possible. And maybe I can find something over there that looks like a CV. In the meanwhile, my mortar, not having moved enough, is being harassed by Canadian rifles. So I try to get the Tlaloc away, and I succeed, fortunately, because I really do not want that thing dead. Considering that there is SAS here, I cannot safely use the Salamander, but I can use the BMP-1KT. This thing comes with good optics and a very nice autocannon, the same as the XA-185s. You could argue that this is not really the right call. This might be better, because this is also with the Ikari. But right now I wanted to spot. I wanted to get as much information as possible. I wanted to spot the SAS, I wanted to spot the tank. I wanted to get more information on this. And while it looks pretty bad for me, it's also pretty bad for him. Because he has no spotter. He has one very expensive tank hiding in here. He most likely doesn't have a whole lot of anti-air. So if I can shake these things out, then he probably doesn't have anything on Fedor and Gregory. And what I do find here is a CV. How nice. Unfortunately, the XA-180s are already being chased down. There is a Challenger coming after me. So one XA-180 gets shot at and dies, and the other one takes refuge in the forest. Over here, I find the SAS. Thanks to the BMP-1KT, they have their weapons turned off, I suppose, because the SAS aren't actively shooting back. The Challenger is. So now I have a problem, because the SAS are alive. The Saria flies in, hits one, misses one, and the Challenger is alive. And as I was trying to stop the bleed, I called in a CV, expecting that the Challenger would be dead, but it is not. Fortunately, the SAS are on the move, potentially weapons off, I'm not sure, but the Salamander gets the kill on the Challenger too, finally. That should not have taken more time, or I would have been in a lot of trouble. This allows the 185 KT to come back, the 180 is to survive, and with that, I can hopefully stop this bleed, because I'm still down 203 points, and ticking. I'm also bringing in another Mi-17, this is to deal with infantry using rocket pods, and I have an ATGM unit in there in case there are more vehicles that I haven't discovered yet. Tornado flies over the Aeroco. The Aeroco try to hit them, but I'm not sure, no, they didn't hit them. And you can see that the Tornado here has absolutely nothing to fear. As opposed to my Mi-17, which is running into Canadian Rifles 85. Not great. I should have expected that they were here and here, because this blocks off the sector for him. And this also means that I have very little location to put the CV. And having completely forgotten that there are Canadian Rifles here, or rather suspecting that these are the Canadian Rifles that were here, I move the CV up. I do a strike with the MiG-21, and I lose the CV, because the Canadian Rifles were not gone. The guys over here did take a rocket pod hit, but I'm not sure if they're dead. So I scout out with the Yickety, I have the XA-185 there. As far as support, the other one's coming in from here. And between the infantry and the KTs, I should be able to clear these guys up fairly easily, especially since I have support from the rocket pods. He is still at a +2. I still have no CV and very few points to actually deal with this, as I'm calling in another 185 KT. But I suspect that he has very little here. Considering the ATGM team nor the Th3 are actually finding anything, I'm suspecting that the town here is clear, so the Th3 move up. I'm trying to provoke a response here from the Canadian Rifles, and I get it. Immediately the 21 MF shoots in, dealing quite a bit of damage, and as you can see, one of these guys is properly elite, and that's the one that killed the CV. Now, Th3 pushing in, just drawing fire, and very quickly these guys are dealt with as a combination of 3 KTs and an Mi-17 deal with the Canadian Rifles, and I conquer this sector back. Not a moment too soon, because I need a CV in there. The CV is already on the way, and it needs a fairly safe location to hide in. Those locations are few and far between at the moment. At this point, I'm thinking, okay, it's not looking great. He has 281 points lead, but I have 30 minutes to play around. And this is something that Blitz War usually says. It's a 40-minute game. It's not something that you have to win in the first 10 minutes. It can be decided, these games, in the first 10 minutes, but it doesn't have to be. So maybe I can come back from this. At this point, I can still see more vehicles going over to Anna. And had he reinforced this area with SAS and other stuff, I would have been in a lot of trouble. But he doesn't. So I'm able to start pushing. And I suspect that he has nothing here. So I load the infantry back into the 185 KT and I start moving back. The Challenger over here got a little too close, and I think I side-shot it with a Musti, because any other explanation I don't have is neither the Th3 nor the Th3 have actually fired a shot from their Appalachian. So this was probably a flank shot from the Musti. Now you can see that while I have infantry in here, he does put a CV in Anna. So that's a bit of a problem. The Th3 over here, sorry, the Th3 I'm gonna keep working on that. Th3 bloopers. Th3 they have spotted a vehicle over there, and this appears to be a Spartan reconnaissance vehicle. So anything that I bring over here, he will likely detect. Now I have something over there, and the Spike immediately decides to shoot it. You can see there's nothing in Fedor, so the infantry moves up and conquers this forest. Well, conquers might be a bit of a big term, considering there's nothing in there. The Th3 over here are engaging Canadian Rifles and their transports, and because I'm not properly managing them, I don't actually have them set to dealing with the vehicle. I do now, but it's a bit late, because they're already properly panicked, and they might have had a chance against the Canadian Rifles 85, but not also against the transports. And if you also pitch in a mortar from Blue 4, like the 432, then definitely not. So this is going to die, and this side is slowly starting to crumble. But it's okay, because I'm starting to come back on the rest of the map. I have units here, I'm bringing up units here, I have my Spike back, I have KTs over there, which means that if anything pops out of this forest, I can engage it, and I know that they're being spotted, which is not great, but I already have Th3 moving forward, trying to get more information about what's happening. And same for a Salamandra. Salamandra, however, takes fire, because there's SAS in there. The SAS immediately come under a lot of fire from the KTs and are forced to withdraw. Salamandra thereby survives. And this is going to be important because I really want that thing to survive. It's an expensive helo, it can do a lot of work, and it's not worth sacrificing to a bunch of SAS. Now, Th3 over here have died. I have another HGM over in the town in Alpha. Sorry, Anna. But I'm more focused on taking Gregory, because this guy seems to be relying on some fairly expensive units, like Challenger 1-3s, Challenger 2s. You're going to see the 432, but I believe there's also some AS-90 over there. So yeah, he has quite a bit of expensive stuff. Which for a motorized deck can be a good thing and it can be a bad thing. It can be a good thing in the sense that it's fairly... it can be fairly easy to counter because you're more numerous. But highly valuable stuff, like a Challenger 1-3, is also somewhat difficult to kill. Especially since I only have one Seria left. So I gotta be careful with that. But what I can do is just plant spikes and other ATGMs all over this area and eliminate or neutralize the threat the Challenger might pose. So that's the plan. Neutralize this area, start parking CVs here. I got a CV here in Fedor, I got a T-55 recon tank coming up. Some light defenses over here in the form of a ZSU-57. There is another CV coming up here, an XA-180 Copa, which is going to take Boris. At this point, he starts to charge my forest. I'm not too interested in having him in the forest, so I move up with the 185 KTs that just happened to arrive, and the Canadian Rifles lose their vehicles and immediately start losing a lot of hit points. But of course, he is not just moving with this. There is also a Vickers Mark 11. And that is not something that the KTs can deal with very well. I mean, yes, they can shoot it a bit, but if this thing fires one more shot, this thing dies. So, I now have Raniko Yekiri and Standard Yekiri in contact with Green Jackets, which is absolutely not a fair fight for the Green Jackets, so it's just how I like it. Over in Gregory, I'm basically getting this sector for free. Because I got the T-55 recon tank, my 185 KT has run out of ammo, but Yekiri should be able to take this area here. And look at this. There is a true Challenger 2 here. Which is interesting, because that's the second Challenger 2 that we've seen. And the Raniko are really starting to damage it. The Yekiri not so much with their M72A4, but these guys, yes, definitely. There's also more SAS in there, which is not infantry that I would strictly push with. Because the SAS are, I'd say they're more flanking infantry, harassing infantry, not for this. Yes, their anti-tank weapon's okay, but they have no machine gun, and I'm really not using any kind of airborne unit here, well, I am now. But I would not use the SAS for that. Seed was not able to find anything, but there is infrared AA in the form of the SAS there. The Tornado F3 takes out my Seed aircraft. And the Raniko are starting to lose terrain. What I have gained, however, is Gregory. And I don't mind falling back in Boris a little bit if I can trade that for Gregory. Because losing Boris or having Boris neutralized would put us even. But if I take Gregory, I'm at a +1. So for me it's fine. And you can see just 8 minutes after I have lost almost all the units here, I have come back very, very well. I have taken a lot of terrain. He just wasn't defending it, probably because he lost most of his opener, if not the entirety of his opening force. So at this point, I can start taking more and more terrain. And over here, I am losing terrain in Boris, that's fine. But I'm once again trying to push out on other sides. So I got the 185 KT, trying to eliminate the Spartan there. I'm getting more infantry over here. But I'm not really that interested in trying to grind over in Boris. Because that would just cost me a lot of units, and I really don't want to do that. So instead, I try to get the 185 KT up here, which promptly get greeted and eliminated by a group of Green Jackets. But this does give me some information that there might not be that much there, because it was only the Green Jackets that were starting to damage them. T-55 here, holding the line against anything that comes down either ramp. It will get sideshot by the T-55. And I'm also bringing up some Moosties to further deter vehicles to come down this ramp. As you can see, I got quite a lot of Raniko down here. I was able to save one of the guys down there, which is going to get resupplied. They did manage to kill one of my vehicles, so the Raniko Yekiri did survive, but only just. And I decided to push back against some of the Canadian Rifles and eliminate them. I should have had more fire support over in this tree line, because from here you can fire up to there. And there's more Canadian Rifles there. I also got a fresh squad of Spada Koniartsi there, which I can send forward and deal with more of the Canadian Rifles. These are cheap units of infantry, but these are not. So I cannot really trade these too much. And there is still quite a bit of mortar fire coming in, so I gotta be careful. And I gotta pull these guys back before they die. At this point, still a +1. Considering his proclivity for sending out aircraft, I decided to bring up a couple of ROMs. And with that, I might be able to take down one or more of those Tornado F3s that keep flying around. At this point, he has a CV. An armored CV at that, because it's a Chieftain Mark 10 command tank. Backed up by the, what was probably the Wounded Challenger 1 Mark III. So at this point, I have a bit of a challenge on my hands. Because I know that his fighter response is fast. There's the Tornado F3 again. His fighter response is fast. making it difficult for me to send in something like a Seria 30. I try to send it in, I evac it as I see the plane, but I don't see it in time. The Seria dies, but the plane also dies, the Tornado F3. So we're trading somewhat even there. But the only real unit that I have that can deal with this is the HH-10, which is an attack helicopter with tow missiles. I get the Salamandras, but there is SES here somewhere and potentially something bigger. So the other few options that I have is smoking it up and rushing in with infantry. But this thing is going to say no to that. A Challenger marksman against Spadoconiarzi, even if they have a really good RPG, these guys have 15 frontal armor. I would need to get a couple of hits. And you don't get a couple of hits when it comes to these guys. This almost worked though. Raniko almost got a flank shot on the Chieftain there. But not good enough. So the Chieftain's going to be there for a while, but that's fine because I have a CV coming to Gregory. And as you can see, he's devoting his resources here. And as I have been trying to do more and more, if the enemy's pouring resources into one side, push somewhere else. Especially as a motorized deck, you can very quickly open up a flank and attack somewhere else. And I'm going to have to, because I am at a +1, but it's a long road to getting 300 points, or rather 330, otherwise I'm looking at a draw. Quite a few commandos coming in here. I'm trying to fight them off with Iroquois Raya Yekiri, which is not great. And you can see the Iroquois Raya Yekiri are already starting to fall back at this point. Raniko Yekiri here are also not doing that hot against commandos, because they were already panicked. And these guys are fully ready, but have their machine gun turned off. On top of that, there's a couple of transports that I cannot deal with. One of my Raniko Yekiri dies, the other one starts to push back against the commandos. And this is a sizable investment for him, because that's 20 points of infantry, or 20 points per squad of commandos. And he sent in 4, so that's 80 points. That's pretty good. Over here, I somehow still have Raskasin Korima and an HEGM. And the Raskasin Korima, if and when they can, fire their Musti at infantry and vehicles alike as they see it. So you can see that the Aslav is already coming under fire and dies to the Raskasin Korima. He should have cleared this town, but he didn't. And he's now starting to feel the results of that. And these guys can also deal HE damage against infantry, so they're no joke. Over here I have killed something. That is a Vickers Mark 11. That was due to the due to the Musties of all people. These were the ones that killed that vehicle. Over here I get a Challenger 1 Mark 3 visiting. It promptly gets dissuaded from further attacking by the T-55 and the Raskasin Korima. They bring it down to 6 out of 10 hit points, so it's still very much alive. But it is reconsidering any kind of offensives going down that ramp. I'd say it was a pretty good probe, but at this point I had quite a lot of stuff down there. So, 16 minutes to go. I can see where his stuff is. And the Salamandra is the one spotting it and dies to the Challenger, which was just a stupid move. I never should have sent that helo over there. So instead I'm probing somewhere else. I've got a Musti over here on the flank. I'm really looking to get into Cheriton. Got a couple more special forces coming in, more Raniko Yekiri. Once again, not so much to push, but more so that I can defend if he decides to make an offensive there. I also have Super Puma with more Raniko Raya Yekiri coming in. And the plan over here is to flank, spot, and potentially eliminate CVs in Anna and Dimitri, which would put me at a +2. In the meanwhile, I'm building up more forces over here. So I got 2 more squads of Raniko Yekiri coming in. I got a Rak 91, which is the cluster weapon, HE, 11 HE at that, trying to deal damage against potential CV locations or locations that I want to push into. Now you can see that he does not have defenses here. I can land the Iroquois Raya Yekiri and I might be able to get them into the forest. Over here I've blinded him by using the Ito 90 to take a shot at the AS-350 helicopter that was hanging around there. And at this point I'm just preparing my area of operations here as best I can. Now, at this point, he starts shelling my CV, or at least my assumed CV location. By the way, I have way too many forces over here sitting in this little forest. This is more of a remnant of the offensive here rather than anything else. I want to give him the idea that the CV has died. So I pack up the CV in the XA-185 and I'm going to drive it somewhere else because I need it alive. But there aren't that many spots in Gregory where you can send it. So I decide to use a little bit reverse psychology. I decide to put it on the front line. Right there. This is usually where you find HGMs, where you find some sort of defensive infantry that's going to kill anything and everything that comes down this ramp. It's not likely that you find a CV there. But I want to keep him busy artillerying positions here, there, along this tree line, maybe there. But not the town. Because he doesn't attack the town at the moment. He doesn't want to charge the town. And thus the CV will survive. At this point I'm still well behind on points. 139 versus 301. It's still not looking good. There's a new Spartan that has arrived over there. So they have another spotter, which is not what I want. Because I really do not want him. And I'm not sure if he can, but I don't think he can at the moment. Because this bluff here is hiding my forces. I really do not want him to spot this offensive. This almost goes entirely wrong here. As the XA-180 drives up this cliff, but stops just shy of clearing it. And I really want them to stop. Because I got another RAK-91 coming in to first soften up the area. Hit them with HE. Either damage them, panic them, or both. And then go after them. At this point, he's defending this flank with a Challenger 1 Mark II. That's pretty expensive for what its real job is of defense. And there is more coming in. There's a Challenger 1 Mark III, a Spartan, a Saxon. What else is he sending here? So, I kind of have to move. Here comes the artillery. First, smoke screens. From the base comes the RAK-91 with its salvo, softening up the area here. And the smoke screen is going to allow my forces to get into the tree line without taking too many hits. Because the guys are going to be crossing a little bit of an open area. And here we go. In the meanwhile, they eliminate the Th3 that I had on the flank. But I am able to push in. And this was a pretty well-timed offensive. Because I had my smoke in the location at the exact right time. I had the the Ranico pushing forward at the right time. And I had the cluster, the HE cluster landing on the site at the right time, of the HE MLRS. XA-180s are also being sent forward, but there are a couple of units which are not really interested in getting visitors here. But what I can see here is the CV. So that's fair game. And the Green Jackets are already being eliminated extremely quickly by the Ranico. They have already been panicked. I'm not sure if that was because they encountered the Ranico or because they encountered an artillery salvo, but either way, they need to go. At this point, the challengers start to push. It's not great news, but there is one thing that he seems to be forgetting. Anti-air. It's not here. And if there's no anti-air here, then I have options. I'm starting to spot all sorts of stuff here with the Ranico. There's a Vickers Mark 11 coming back. There's another Vickers standing by there. Over here, we can see an AS-90, or actually two of them. So that's quite expensive. That's a lot of artillery. And he can't very well see me, so he's just randomly shelling the forest, hoping to hit me, which he's not. Over here, I'm just cleaning up a couple of Fusiliers, and I'm trying to get more information by getting one of the Ranico moving forward towards his base. I also, in the back, have the Th3 which are going to be providing information from the back. So, like a good motorized deck, I'm trying to operate pretty much everywhere with small forces, trying to deal as much damage as possible. The HH-10 is able to deter the challengers from pushing up further and dealing quite a bit of damage to the Challenger 1 Mark III, but the SAS have enough and take it down. Now sadly, my special forces over here, the Th3 that were there, died. And because of that, I cannot shoot down the Lynx 3. I really wanted to, but fortunately I still have the Ito 90. And with that, I can still deal quite a bit of damage. The MiG-21MF once again swoops in, dealing with the SAS. Because what I don't need is a little bit of mobile anti-air over there. And if I lose this plane in the process, so be it. It's unfortunate, but so be it. Ito 90 engaging the Lynx, instantly killing it. And over here we got the ROMs engaging the Tornado F2. And killing it. So he just lost quite a lot of expensive stuff. The Lynx 3 is down, his attack plane is down. We have one heavily damaged 145 point tank back there. The other one will push forward if it can. But at the same time also applying some pressure on the CV over there with my mortars. The guys over here, here and here. And he's not pushing. You can see that he's starting to respond to me. Now at this point I was getting a bit nervous about the location of the CV. I really do not want green jackets over here. So I'm scrambling a KT forward, and it's enough to dissuade the green jackets from pushing any further. The Aslav is constantly being forced to relocate, as I'm constantly spawning it with remarkably surviving all 4 Raniko-Yekari squads. So he's going to have to keep that thing mobile, and that temporarily gives me a +3. Excellent, that's what I want. HH-10 looking for a target in the form of a challenger, but I can't find it, because I don't have enough reconnaissance here. So instead I bring forward a couple more Raskasin Korima, which were hiding there. But if something moves down this ramp, which is unlikely, I will still spot it with the Raniko, so I should be fine. Aslav PC goes on the offensive. Ish. It is once again panicked, and it's already moving again. He really does not know where to put it. SAS are gonna... I'm not sure, are they looking for me, or... There. You can still see the CV there. These guys were doing fantastic work. SAS moving forward. Raskasin Korima say no, and the SAS get eliminated. Fortunately, I spot the Stormer firing just in time. And right now it's going, I think, after the HH-10. But the Salamandra is, at least for now, out of its reach. So the other HH-10s are being held back before this Stormer is going to take out more of my stuff. But again, it's expensive. It's another 75 points that he spends. So keep it up. Keep spending your stuff. Keep spending your points. By now, I believe I have eliminated the CV. There. It's dead. So I'm at a +3. So far, so good. Now, at this point, I am expecting an offensive to happen here. Because he had quite a lot of stuff over there. I'm not sure if it's still true. But I'm going to have to respond to that pretty quick. I have quite a lot of forces here. So I'm not that concerned about any potential offensives. Over here, Raniko spot Canadian rifles and some other stuff. Nothing too dangerous. The Raskasin Korima were sent forward to try and spot the tank. And they do. They just paid with that very dearly. So I decided to send 1 or 2 of my Raniko-Yekari back in order to try and find it. At this point, we have, again, an offensive. Why exactly there are 2 stalwarts over there, I'm not exactly sure. Probably to repair the... Challenger? You're not a Challenger, though. The Challenger 1-3 that I think I did not kill. Time to bring in some more expensive HGMs. This is the XA-180. It only fires 20 AP missiles, but if you get a side shot, that still hurts like hell. Let's start with eliminating his vision, shall we? Yeah, no, because the missile's not that accurate. I mean, it's pretty good, but it sadly missed the Spartan. I run at the Stormer with the MiG-21MF, and I kill it. So again, sniping his anti-air, and then your expensive tank is going to be in trouble. Because now I can push in with the HH-10s, maybe even with the spike launcher there, and I can start to deal damage here. At this point I'm starting to see more stuff around his base, and I'm starting to see maneuvers here. So there's most likely coming something down here, which is still going to get somewhat stopped by the Raskasin Korima and the HEGM. Although the Raskasin are out of their Musti ammo, the HEGM still have ammo, but are in a pretty terrible spot. At this point still +3, because he still has not reinforced his +2. Now, another missile flies towards the Challenger 1 Mark II. It's still alive. Salamandra tries it again with the Kokon. HH-10s are going after it. But it is eventually the Raniko-Yekari from the back which take the shot and eliminate the Challenger 2. Beautiful shot, well done. Now, at this point, a couple of stalwarts are moving through. I'm not sure why. They're not empty. These are full transports, but they're just being sent my way. Maybe he was just trying to see how much I had. At this point, I accidentally blow one up, but I do capture the other one. And you can see that the kind of predicted offensive over here is happening. It's not just here, it's also here. There's a rover over there, a Saxon, We're getting more supply trucks donated, which is fantastic. Sorry about that. It's fantastic that he donates the stalwart, because I can immediately resupply the Riskosine Korima, and they immediately start shooting again. For what's, for him, the most horrible time to do it with. Speaking of horrible, he makes a really bad call here, pushing with a Challenger 1 Mark III. The Challenger 1 Mark III cannot move down the ramp. This cliff is not navigable for a tank, but it is navigable for infantry. And that's a side shot, and that's a dead Challenger. There's another one. Sorry, two of them. Ranikoyekri on the offensive, kind of ignoring the commandos or shooting at those with their assault rifles. But these are the targets. There goes one. The other one's panicked, doesn't really know which way to turn, and also dies. So at this point, he's lost a lot of stuff. Raskosine Korima mostly resupplied, supply truck empty. Green Jackets and Canadian rifles are not something I can really stop. And so he tries another push, by the way. Which I'm not stopping. Yet. Until I side-shot it with a T-55. Now this T-55 had been very patiently waiting here. From this position you can shoot units that are coming down the ramp, that are somewhat up the ramp. And mostly it's a side shot. So this Challenger got side shot. And that's an expensive unit to get side shot by a 75-point reconnaissance tank. So that's another expensive unit that he lost. Over here we still have that little offensive, so I scrambled a Salamandra and an Mi-8T KT to start eliminating that, and it all promptly dies. Offensive failed, but not a half bad move. Over here we have the HGM dealing with another Stormer. Or maybe it was the stealth tank, I'm not even sure which one it was. And because he's distracted, I'm hoping to eliminate the Saxon here, so I don't have to give away the position of the Erokoira just yet. And with that, I'm still at a +3. I've overtaken him by more than 100 points. And I have killed a lot of his stuff. I still, by some miracle, have the Raskosine Korima alive. He still pushes with some stuff. And it's once again a Musti that takes out a vehicle. Don't underestimate these things. These can be pretty annoying. Especially side shots will kill you. Anyway, we're not done yet, because there is another quad. No, make that more. It's a quad stack of 106 M40 Jeeps. So they get hit by spikes, they get hit by the stealth tank. The stealth tank is doing exactly what I wanted to, which is operate from stealth and just snipe vehicles as they drive by. You can see that this is most likely his last offensive. He has 3 minutes left. There are a couple of these things coming in. There's 4 more, and they're being escorted by another Challenger marksman. Now, I have killed these things fairly easily. These Challenger marksmen, that was a spike. Beautiful. I've killed them fairly easily. They're very good anti-air units, but he keeps giving me opportunity to side shot. There was another missile from the spike. If you keep giving me opportunities to side shot, I will take them and I will eliminate your highly expensive anti-air. And at this point, he surrenders. I have killed 3,485 points and lost a little more than half that. I was quite proud of this game, because initially it looked pretty bad. He had pushed me back to my spawn, which was being defended by nothing. Had he pushed on, I would have lost the game, but he stopped. And that, I think, cost him the game. As for kills, nothing really too impressive here. You can see at the MiG-21MF, by the way, it's an 80-point plane. SAS is 25 or 30 points, so this guy just made about even. But the other MI-17, no, MiG-21MF, where are you? Where, oh, what? Did the other MiG-21MF die without doing anything? That would be pretty bad. No, I probably lost it without getting any kind of a kill. Oh well. What else do we have? Here, one squad of Ranikoyekri. This is 35 points. This is more. This is 40 points, these commandos, plus 30, 25 points SAS, plus green jackets. These guys really worked hard. T-55, commandos. Rom, killing two Tornado F3s and a Tornado F2. I think he had too many fighters in his deck. Because he wasn't really that susceptible to airstrikes, considering he had Stormers, a lot of planes, and, of course, the Challenger marksman. Look at this. XA180 Musti dealing with a Vickers Mark 11. Raskasin Korima. 15-point infantry, if that. Aslavs, Challenger 2. Hello. Okay. Item 90. It's an 85-point anti-air unit. Dealing with the Lynx 3 already made his price back. Blinding him was also priceless. It's just pretty good work here overall with the deck. These units are so good. Look at this. Raniko Yekiri, Challenger 1-3, Challenger Marksman. This was late game when they ran up that ramp and started killing stuff. Over here, Stormer, Challenger. ATGMs, these spikes can be so deadly, but you gotta get the side shots. Alright, hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope it shows you that it can look really bad, but you can still come back from it. And, well, don't give up after a few minutes, because it doesn't have to be over. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what your thoughts are down below. If you want to use the deck, it's down in the description. And if you want to support me, I would be very grateful if you have a few bucks on Patreon. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for more.